Okay, let's continue our talks about Stoicism. We're in the fourth book of the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. We skip around a little bit. Here's a great... Remember what I said at the start when we were going through the Meditations, that some of these sections are simply incomprehensible. We just don't know what he means. This is a good one. Number 28. A black character, an effeminate, unbending character. The character of a brute or dumb animal, infantile, stupid, fraudulent, coarse, mercenary, despotic. The hell are you talking about? He probably was talking about someone. I don't know if he's talking about himself, maybe about someone who wronged him. We don't know. As far as I know, no one has figured out who he was talking about. So that's the type of thing I want to skip, because I don't know how to interpret that, right? There's other things that are very interesting that we can interpret, but that are a little repetitive here and there. This is one that I always really enjoyed. Okay? Section 32. Consider, for example, the time of Vespasian. He goes through a couple of other Roman emperors here. Okay, Vespasian is one of them. You will see everything the same. People marrying, having children, falling ill, dying, fighting, feasting, trading, farming, flattering, pushing, suspecting, plotting, praying for the death of others, grumbling at their lot, falling in love, storing up wealth, longing for consulships and kingships, and now that life of theirs is gone, vanished. Pass on again to the time of Trajan. Again, everything the same. That life, too, is dead. Similarly, look at the histories of other eras and indeed whole nations, and see how many lives of striving met with a quick fall and resolution into the elements. Above all, review in your mind those you have seen yourself in empty struggles, refusing to act in accord with their own natural constitution, to hold tight to it and find it sufficient. And in this context, you must remember that there is proportionate value in our attention to each action. So you will not lose heart if you devote no more time than they warrant to matters of less importance. I find this image of the cosmos and human history as a whole, like something that progresses, I find that beautiful. You have this older emperor, and in that day and age, people did all sorts of things. You can think back to that as well. Think back to the Middle Ages. Think back to people marrying and dying and fornicating and having children and falling in love and falling ill and you know, all these kinds of things. Think of the worries and concerns that people must have had in the year 1200, in the year 800, in the year 200 BC. Some things have changed, we have more technology, other things have not changed. People still fall ill, still fall in love, still die, still have children, they do all those kinds of things. And I was reminded when I was reading this of another book that I very much enjoy, the Hagakure by Yamamoto Tsunetomo. So this is a manual for samurai, and Tsunetomo actually said, it was written down by someone else, but let's not split hairs. It is said that what is called the spirit of an age is something to which one cannot return. That the spirit gradually dissipates is due to the world's coming to an end. For this reason, although one would like to change today's world back to the spirit of 100 years or more ago, it cannot be done. Thus, it is important to make the best out of every generation. Nice. I'm sure you know someone who says, I felt like I was born in the wrong age. I should have been born in the 1800s. I should have been born in the 1900s. Nonsense. What kind? Sorry, but like, what kind of crap is that? How would you know that? How would you know what life in the 1800s was like, and that you belong there? How would you? This doesn't make any sense in my mind. You live now, and this is the only life you know and can know, because this is your life. This is where you are, right here, right now. Hashtag FatBoySlim. So, what else can you do? What is the real meaning of this passage? Well, I don't know. I can give you my meaning. My meaning is, you look at history you see all these things. You see that people have the same struggles that you have right now. If you've ever been in love, you know what a minefield that is. People had that 400 years ago as well. People had that 1,000 years ago as well. People had that 2,000 years ago as well. Some struggles people did not have. Well, that's maybe a bit much, but 2,000 years ago, people did not have those struggles. People did not really necessarily have something like a mortgage in like 2,000 years ago, but people had other things. People also needed jobs. People also needed, if not money, then needed food, needed to forage, needed to do things. So a lot of struggles are the same. Some struggles may have changed a little bit, but a lot of these struggles are the same. Now here's the real kicker. Everyone did that. Think of all the people who have gone before us, who have done all these things, who have fallen in love, who've had a partner, who may have had children, who maybe fell ill, or maybe they just died one day. They're all gone. They're dead. And one day, you'll be dead too. It's okay. It is. It's okay. You can't have life without being dead. Without dying. Because if you're dead, you by definition don't have life. Sorry. You cannot have life without also dying at some point. Right? It's impossible. So here's the deal. Given all of this, looking at history, looking at everything all those people have done, I think of all the people who will come after you, right? What can you do? You can live. Choose life. And live. Do those things that make your life worthwhile. That may be all sorts of things. And that's important. I really think that's important. And here is what I have often asked myself. How do I want to be remembered? It's not that I think of death like 15 times a day, but I think of death pretty often. Not because I'm a morbid person, but I don't know when I'm going to snuff it. Putting it very bluntly, I don't know. I could turn off the camera and just drop dead here. I don't know. Right? And I try to let my actions every day be guided as much as possible by how I would like to be remembered. If I die tomorrow, then I would appreciate it if my wife would say, he was a supportive husband. I would appreciate it if my friends would say, he was a reliable friend. His yes was yes, his no was no. I would appreciate it if my students, because I'm a college instructor, so I have the type of job where I interact with a lot of people, right? A lot of students, like it's 40 or more student classes, so I see a lot of students, interact with a lot of students. I would appreciate it if my students would say, he inspired me. He made me want to look up things and maybe pursue a career in this. I would appreciate it if my colleagues would say, we could count on him. He was helpful, a good, worthwhile colleague. And based on all those things, I try to act. And I often fail. That's part of life, isn't it? But I try. I try to do those things. And sometimes that means you have to take a step back and think, if I do this, will this benefit me in the long run? Not necessarily because of the legacy it will leave behind, but let's face it, your legacy is based on what you do in this life. And even if you don't think of a legacy, would you like it if your colleagues appreciated you, or would you like it if your colleagues did not appreciate you? I'm assuming you would prefer to be appreciated. There's a difference between being appreciated and being liked. You will never be liked by everyone. There'll be people who dislike you. This is natural human behavior. You just like some people and you dislike others. This is normal in life. There's nothing weird about that psychologically. But do you want to be appreciated? Being appreciated by your colleagues does not mean saying yes to everything and bending over backwards. But there are certain things you can do. If you can help out a colleague, will you do it, or will you say, well, I was kind of hoping to be home by 5? It's a choice. I'm not saying what you should do. I'm just saying, what do you do? And what I'm trying to make you think about is, how conscious are you of what you do? What you say yes to and no to? Remember what I said. I would like it if my friends would say he was reliable. His yes was yes and his no was no. If I say no, it's no. I cannot or will not do this thing. My yes is yes. And if I say yes, then it's a yes, and I will be there, and I will do this. I will not back out at the last moment, unless I have to. Which we have all done too. Sometimes you have to. Something else comes up, you cannot not, so to speak. You know what I mean. And all of this, I think you can guide, or you can guide powerfully by doing what Marcus Aurelius says here. Think about the past. Countless generations before you have had the same or similar struggles that you do. They wanted to be appreciated, they wanted to survive, they wanted to be maybe loved or cared for, and you want that too. Well, I don't want to get into the minefield of being loved or liked. That's a very difficult one, and psychologically you have to be very careful with how you put that. But all those people, all those generations struggled with the things you struggle with. They made it. Or not. What's the only thing you can do? What Yamamoto Tsunotomo said, make the most out of every generation. Make it count. Maybe your entire contribution to the human race is making the best chocolate chip cookies in the world. Maybe there is nothing else you will contribute. Long after your death, your friends will say, I wish his or her, those chocolate chip cookies, I will never forget those. Nothing wrong with that. We're not all Nobel Prize winners, and nor should we be. Because then that prize would no longer be valuable. But you know what I mean. We're not all that. We're not all Albert Einstein. We're not that. That's okay. Think about what differences you can make in your life by being reliable, by being someone that others can build on. If you say yes, it's yes, and if you say no, it's no. But it's sincere. Be kind. I'm reminded of the previous episode, right? The man who's content with his dispensation from the whole, satisfied in his own just action and kind disposition. Be virtuous. Do the right thing. Say the right thing. Yes is yes, and no is no. Clarity. Contentness with what you have. Contentment. It's getting late. Being content with what you have. I hope this one was useful. Many generations went before you. Your struggles are not unique, but they're yours. It's okay. You do what you can. That's the only thing. And at some point, it'll all be over, permanently. How will you be remembered? How do you want to be remembered? And are you doing those things to ensure that you will be remembered that way? If not, why not? If you are, maybe you should keep doing that. Food for thought. I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you again next week for another talk about Stoicism. Bye-bye.